Now, the truth is, every investor is a bootstrapper. If you don't know what bootstrapping means using what you have to get what you need. Okay, so one thing is certain: if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, or you are a startup founder or CEO, one thing is certain: you need funds to grow your business. You need funds to build your business, to grow your business, and also to scale your business, right? Like I always say, there are basically four stages of business. There's the ideation, there's the ideation stage, the launching stage, the growing stage, and then the scaling stage. In all of these four stages, you need funding. Now, I'm assuming that you're an entrepreneur who you're probably in your ideation stage or your launching or growing stage, right? Not yet in the scaling stage. But the fact is this: you need funds, and it's inevitable. Like it's inevitable, right? So in this video and in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you the one move that you need to make, or you need to carry out, or the one action you need to take to raise funds for your business without pitching to investor. Now, I am not against investors funding. I mean, it's pretty quick, okay, to pitch to investor. However, I like to go by, investors pitching to me to invest in my business and not me pitching to investor. You get it? Yes, I understand. So I'm just going to go on the board and quickly show you something, and then I'll talk about the one move, right? So quickly, traditionally, like what the system has made most startup entrepreneurs, business owners believe is that you need to pitch to investors, right? You pitch to investors so that you can get what? Funds for your business, to grow your business, to scale your business. And this is true. This works. Without honesty, this works, right? Because there are several businesses that have, used this model to raise funds and all of that. It's cool, but the reality and the fact is, on the long run, for the startup entrepreneur, not for the one who is scaling his business, that's a different ballgame. But if you're a startup entrepreneur, you're just building your business, and then you're in the growing stage, looking to get to the scaling phase, this might not exactly be what you need. And I mean what I'm saying. I understand you're probably not going to agree with me because the system teaches you or tell you that yes, you need funds, which I 100% agree with you. There's no alternative to funding, right? Yes, you do. But the system tells you, you know what? You need to first develop a prototype, right? Or an MVP, minimum viable product. Now, minimum viable product (MVP) is more advanced than a prototype. A prototype is just more like a design. Your MVP is a prototype that is working. It is more like the semi version of the true product. So the MVP is actually working, but it's not the final finish up of the product, right? Now, the system tells you, and I keep saying the system because it's true. If you go to business school to study entrepreneurship and all of that, they tell you you need funds, but you have to rely on investors, right? So what they tell you is you take either your prototype, right, and you go to the investor to pitch to the investor with your prototype or your MVP. And if the investors like it and they buy into your idea based on your MVP or your prototype, right, they give you funding in exchange for what? Equity, right? And then some other things as well, depending on whatever agreement you have as regards to the equity stake. And this is the traditional system, right? This is the traditional system. However, let me show you the new system. Not exactly new, but yeah, that's what's working now. Because a couple of days ago, I mean, I've been saying this for a number of times in several of my videos, but I was on LinkedIn and a VC, a venture capitalist, made a post and said that true entrepreneurs do not pitch to investors. Instead, they make investors pitch to them. I was like, this guy gets it. Yes, he gets it. So I'm going to show it to you. Traditionally, like I said, you go pitch to an investor to get funding. Now, in the new system, you don't go pitch to an investor. What happened is the investor, sorry, um, what happened is that the investor, the investor pitch to the entrepreneur, right? So pitch here. The investor pitch to the entrepreneur, right? In exchange for what? Funding. Now, I'll tell you something about this funding now. Now, the investors pitch to the entrepreneur to invest, right, to give funds to the entrepreneur, right, so the entrepreneur can use it to grow his business. Now, the thing is this, the thing is this, right, because the entrepreneur is the one pitching to the investor, because the investor is the one pitching to the entrepreneur do not need the funds. You're going to be like, dude, what are you saying? Trust me, the entrepreneur do not need this funding from the investor. He doesn't. The reason is why? Because the entrepreneur is self-sufficient. The entrepreneur is self-sufficient, or the startup business is self-sufficient. So that means that they are generating their own funds. They are raising their own fund independent of the investor. This is the new system. And this way, I'll tell you the advantage of this way. The advantage of this, of having investors to pitch to the entrepreneur. I know you're going to be like, how is that possible? How are you going to make investors to pitch to the entrepreneur? I've made a video about that, how you can make investors, or how you can get investors to pitch to you if you're an entrepreneur. So you want to check out my YouTube page. I'm not going to talk about that today because I've created an extensive video on that. So check out my YouTube channel. I literally lost where I was. Now, like I said, the entrepreneur don't need the funding from the investor because the entrepreneur is self-sufficient. So it doesn't need the funding from the investor. Now, the advantage, yeah, this is where I stop. So the advantage of this model is that in the case of the previous model where uh, the the entrepreneur, right? The entrepreneur, E for entrepreneur, pitch to I for investor, right? I for investor in exchange for what? Funding, and what the entrepreneur have to give what? Equity, right? Now, in this case, the entrepreneur is at the mercy of the investor because the entrepreneur wants funds from the investor. The entrepreneur is at the mercy of the investor. But in this model, the investors are at the mercy of the entrepreneur, and I'll tell you why the investors are at the mercy of the entrepreneur. Okay, so just before we get back to the video, if you're a startup founder, you're an entrepreneur, and you're building a service-based business or you're building a tech product and you need funding for your business, this Sunday I'm having a section where you have the opportunity to have us raise funds for your startup or your business. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description of this video. Click on that link, register, and I'll see you this Sunday. Cheers. Now, the truth is, every investor is a bootstrapper. If you don't know what bootstrapping means using what you have to get what you need. That's like the simple term. Using what you have to get what you need. So you have a certain capital, you put that capital to work, and you use the capital to generate revenue. Sorry, use the capital to generate ROI, return on investment, right? That's basically what the investors do. They are bootstrappers, right? So they have funds, and the only way they can make profit with the funds they have is to put the funds to work. So it's a must for them because they don't like to keep cash. They don't like to keep money. Keeping money in ideality, keeping money in idleness is gonna make it lose value. So they always in capital letters always look for where to put in the funds so that the funds can generate ROI profit, right? So the investors, one thing is certain, wants to invest, is a must for the investor because that's the only way it can be profitable, right? It's an exchange. You have to sell to get paid, right? It's buying and selling is a principle. So the investor always wants to invest. So now, because he wants to invest, he's looking for startup businesses to put in that money into. And his metrics for the kind of startup business that that he finds viable to put that money into is a business that gives him some level of assurance and security that if I put my money in this business, it's not going to go down the drain. I mean, I have some hope that it's going to work out for me because this person has a proven system. He has done it before. He has a team, XYZ, and all of those characteristics, right? In this case, which I'm going to show you the one move that will make the investor come pitching to you. I'm going to show you that move shortly. Now, in this case, the investor is pitching to the entrepreneur because of that one move I'm going to show to you shortly. Because of that one move that the entrepreneur is taking or will make or has been making, right? And because that one move literally tells the investor that this person first is self-sufficient, number one, so he doesn't really need the investor's money, right? Because he has built his business without the investor. Number two, the person has a system that is working, has a business model that has been tested and proven, and it's working, it's generating results. And number three, this person is secured. He has been through storms and is still standing. So this person is a very high level good investment. The entrepreneur, the investors will certainly want to invest in such entrepreneur. And there are investors who are looking for such entrepreneurs to pitch to those entrepreneurs. It's the same thing that happened with ClickFunnels. If you know the story of ClickFunnels, VCs literally, even up to now, I'm pretty sure, right? Russell Brunson shared the story. I think shared the story one time how VCs kept on pitching to them to invest in their business. It's working, trust me. Okay, so what's the one move? What will make an investor to pitch to an entrepreneur instead of the entrepreneur pitching to the investor as the traditional system is, or the system has made us believe that the only way to get funding is for the entrepreneur or the startup founder to pitch to the investor. So what is the system? What is that one move? I'm going to show it to you right now. Okay, so that's one move that will make an investor to come pitching to an entrepreneur to invest in the business of the entrepreneur is this. It's called sales. Sales. So I understand. I get it. You're going to be like, sales? Yes, it's sales. This one move. Why sales? Remember when I started, I said every business needs funding. That's inevitable. That's for sure. Right? And your funding could come from investors, which is again the traditional system, but at the same time, it can come from revenue. And the best funds to raise as a startup entrepreneur, listen, as a startup entrepreneur, underline the word startup entrepreneur, not as a business owner. As a business owner, your best bet is to use other people's money. I mean, both are other people's money anyway. OPM, other people's money, because it's the best way to, fund the business. OPM, other people's money, is the best way to fund the business. Both are OPM, right? Because your revenue is coming from other people, investors' money, investors' fund is coming from other people as well. However, if you're a business owner, not a startup entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, and there's a difference between business owner and startup entrepreneur. If you're a business owner, this is your best bet. If you're a startup entrepreneur, you've not attained unicorn yet, right? You've not attained unicorn, or your business is not even doing maybe $10 million annually, ARR, annual recurring revenue. If your business is not doing 10 million annual recurring revenue in USD, then this is your best option right now. So what is this option? With this, you're able to generate revenue with sales. First of all, what is sales? First of all, what is sales? Sales is not convincing people to buy what they don't want to buy. No, sales is solving other people's problems. That's what sales is. solving other people's problems. It's called, another way is called sales as a service. Sales as a service. Sales is providing a solution. I'm just explaining what sales is. Sales is providing a solution to a problem, solving other people's problem. Sales as a service, SaaS, right? And you'll be like, how does this move relate to raising consistent fund or raising funding for my startup? Because I need to raise pre-seed or seed funding or series A, series B, and so on and so forth. Now, your fastest way to raise fund as a startup entrepreneur is through sales. And this is the number one skill every startup entrepreneur, founder, and CEO should have. I failed having this skill at first. I was obsessed with operations. I was obsessed with developing systems and all of that. And I missed out on this. And because I missed out on this, our company suffered severely. Every startup entrepreneur and CEO, the first thing you need to know about, the first skill you need to know or have and implement, is not just about having, implementing it, because implementation is what generates results. If you know something and you're not implementing it, you're not going to generate any result. Knowing sales and knowing how to implement it to generate revenue will save your business a lot. And with sales, having sales skill and using it to generate revenue, you can attract investors to compete to you. Because what an investors want to know is, how are you funding your business? Where is the money coming from? Have you taken funding from other VCs or angel investor, or you have outside funding, or you're generating funding by yourself? I understand that startup entrepreneurs were obsessed with building product, prototype, MVP, and so on and so forth. We're obsessed with that. But see, if you want to do sales, I know you're going to say, I'm going to answer the question you're probably asking yourself right now. Like, dude, what are you talking about? You're saying sales. Yes, I agree. But if I want to sell, I need to have a product first that I can sell. And I don't have the money to build the product, which is why I need investors funding. Oh, well, I get it, but here's your answer now. And this is where I'm going to wrap up this video, right? Yes, for a fact, you need funds, right? You need funds. I hope you can see this. You need funds. This is correct. And you think that the only way you can raise funds is to build your product, right? As a startup. I get it. Yes, you're right. Build a product. And the only way you can successfully build this product is with investors fund. Is with investors funds, right? To build this product. Well, I agree with you, but not entirely. Now, I agree that you need to build this product because this is what we probably would call your core product for your startup, right? This is what makes you a business, a startup business. You have a product, you have either a product or a service that you offer, right? In most cases, they are product, digital products, tech product, as the case may be. I get it. But where I don't agree with you is that you don't need investors fund to build this. No, you don't. You don't need investors fund to build it. So you're going to be like, so if you're talking about sales and you're saying, I don't need investors fund to build my product so I can sell it, then how am I going to get funds to build my product so I can sell it? This is what I'm saying. You do not need to sell this product. You do not need to build this product to sell. Yes, you will build this product. It's inevitable. I want you to build this product. This is your signature product for your startup and so on. Yes, you will build it, but hold on there. What you need first is an offer. You need to create an offer instead of a product. So most startup entrepreneurs spend so much time building product, which will come in form of prototype, like I said, prototype or an MVP, right? But the new system is you don't need a prototype or an MVP to create your product. You need to create an offer. An offer is not a product. And I'll talk about offer in my next video. So you want to stay tuned on this channel, and I highly recommend you subscribe to the channel, or if you're watching this on Facebook or you're watching this on LinkedIn or wherever you're watching this, I highly recommend you go on my YouTube and subscribe, like, share, and then most importantly subscribe, because in the next video I'm going to talk about offer. I'm going to break offer down, right? Why offer is more important than a product, how it differs from a product or a service, and why it's more important, and most especially how an offer will help you generate the funds that you need, will help you generate the fund that you need to raise for your startup business without relying on investors. So to wrap up, you need an offer, not a product. With offer, you can generate, and you will generate, unlimited funds. In fact, the unlimited should be in capital letters. Trust me. Unlimited funds with an offer. Hold on, it's not complete. Unlimited high ticket ticket fund. Sorry, unlimited high ticket fund. What is a high ticket fund? It means a lot of money, high price, premium. So, for example, you want to raise 100K, right, as your startup seed, your seed funding, right? You want to raise 100K to build your product. You create an offer, right? You take your offer as a solution to help people solve problems. Remember what I said about sales? Sales as a service. Sales is a solution or a tool used in solving people's problems, right? So you take your offer to help people solve problems, and you put a price point for your offer at, let's say, for example, 10K. Because it solves a particular problem, a pain point for a certain kind of market or people, they are more than willing, they are happy to raise 10K for you for each of the problem you solve with your offer. You create one offer, and then you can use it to solve as many problems as possible, right? You can create one offer and use it to solve one specific problem for as many people as possible. That's the right word. One offer solves one problem for as many people as possible that have that one problem, right? And each of those persons will pay you 10K for it. Now, so let's take, for example, 10K as the price for the offer, and then you sell to 10 people. That gives you what? 100. You've gotten your 100K. I know you're going to be like, it's easier said than done. And so, by the way, this is what we are doing in our own company. I run a private equity company. We're fully bootstrapped. And I say this with all confidence and humility at the same time. We have not, and we are not interested to take a dime in funding from any startup, from any VC, angel investors, or whatever. As a matter of fact, we are doing acquisition, and we're even helping other startups to raise funds, right? And if you go on our website, ehidebusiness.com, you see what we do there. We help other startups raise funds without pitching to investors, and this is the system that we use. It's very effective. We're using it for ourselves, and then we're helping other startup entrepreneurs to use the same system to raise funds for themselves. And it's highly profitable, because that way the startup entrepreneur becomes liberated from all of the issues and so many things that goes on with taking funding from investors that you never know about, because they can't share it, because they signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. I am in the system, we're in the system, we know what goes in there and all. And we've had founders tell us that they wish they never took funding from investors. And if you're a founder who have taken funding from investors, you know exactly what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying taking on investors' funding is bad. I'm just saying the position where you are in taking funding from investor, you need to switch it, right? It's better an investor come pitching to you, and then you, If you choose to take funding from the investor, then you're doing that on your own terms, not doing it on the terms of the investor, because the terms of the investor is not favorable to you, especially as a startup entrepreneur. Anyway, this Sunday, I'm hosting a live session where I'll break all of these down even further and then give you an opportunity to raise funds for your business, to help you raise funds for your business. So if you want to be part of that session that is happening this Sunday, all you need to do is there's a link under the description of this video on YouTube, only on YouTube. There's a link there. All you need to do is click on the link. You will see it, Grow High University /web class, right? Grow High University /web class. Go on that site and then register. It's free, completely free, right? And then I'll see you in the session. And most importantly, I'll give you an opportunity to help you raise funds for your business. So if this is what you're interested in as a startup entrepreneur, as a business owner, or an early stage startup growth founder, then you want to take these opportunities completely free, and then I'll see you in the web section. That being said, I hope you got some value in this video, and remember to share, like, and then most importantly, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Cheers.